Thank you. And I would like first to thank Will for all of this for us. And also to introduce Lina and Lotus. I'm not going to talk about the workshop and the summary of the workshop. I'll say to you about my experience working with the Chinese department there. So I had Lina as one of my PhD. Our collaboration started June 2019, I think. Yes. And it was, I think, the first contact that you had here from the Chinese department regarding to the education. And then I started working with Lotus, who is now the Digital Education Director and representative of the department there. My experience is really good, and I would really recommend you have a chat with these two colleagues or other colleagues from the Chinese department and find a way to work on an educational project. I know that in some cases it's not possible because I'm from psychology and that's very related to education. But other people maybe who are from chemistry, life science, or other department, engineering department, maybe they have difficulties. However, as far as I know, there is a virtual group that the people can be there and work with the Chinese department, and the PhD students, they will have an education PhD. Am I right? So I would highly recommend you, to be honest, have a chat with them. They work a lot. They are reliable. And yeah, that's something actually that we want as the researchers. So Lina will present something about the digital education, games, and the escape room. And I don't know, Lotus, if you would like to say a few words before we start.
Thank you very much, Maria. Hi, folks. Hello, everybody. My name is Lotus Wang. I'm the head of Department of Educational Studies at Limniou Future Education. So today I'm here with Lina to meet our wonderful colleagues at Liverpool, who we always interact with through emails, but see you for the first time in person. So I was very glad to see our moderators that only appear in the name, but very glad to see the supporters behind the scene and also meet new friends. So because we came here for a VRA conference next week, but we believe it will be a perfect time to meet everybody in person, especially after the pandemic, to help people to get to know us. Thank you for Maria's introduction. Maria is also the co-supervisor of two of my PhD students, and we met through like a listserv online, and somehow we become collaborators and colleagues, which is a really amazing experience. So our Academy of Future Education, like Maria said, we do not have a counterparts department here at XJTLU. That's why UL help us to create a virtual group for anyone who are interested in co-supervising PhD students in education can join this virtual group. So for example, from engineering, chemistry, or any other department who are interested in doing interdisciplinary research relevant to education can be our PhD co-supervisors. So thank you for taking that into consideration and bring the message back to your colleagues. And our department, we have three master's degree granting programs: global education, child development and family education, and digital education, where Lina serves as the instructor. And this project she will share with everybody is also from a research project with the UL colleagues, our academic staff, and even our students. So we also bring some little souvenirs. We carry, both of us carry some in our small luggage. It's a magnet from XJTLU. Feel free to grab some. It's a liverbird. Now, until I arrived to Liverpool, I see the seagulls, right, flying. Now I know where liverbird is coming from. So please grab some, and we really look forward to have in-depth conversation with you maybe after the workshop, and welcome everybody to visit us in XJTLU. I'll pass the stage to Lina. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, Rob, and Lotus for giving me this opportunity. Travel with boss is a very high pressure. Yeah, Lotus is my line manager as our head of Department of Educational Studies. And also, it's amazing. I started my PhD study during the COVID. And after 3 years, finally, I can be here in person and with the title doctor and be able, thank you, be able to, show what we have done as a team. As Lotus has mentioned, we have a research project team, which is digital game-based learning. And I also have our colleagues and students online. So I know time is limited, so I will just start straightforward. As you can see, today we have presenters, our 3 students, and including myself, and we have Dr. Juliana online. And first, I would like to introduce our amazing students, because talking about H5P, although their slogan is quicker, easier, but actually when it comes to for faculty members to use it, there are a lot of settings. I just talked to Kate about something that, because for people who are familiar with these settings, that means flexibility. But for people who are new to it, it's overwhelming. So that's why we have our fantastic students to join the project, and they, as a digital escape room designer, also as well as part of the learners, because they are students from our academy. Some of them are from digital education program, some of them are from child and family development program, and some of them from global education. So the first lovely girl, Lan, she is from digital education. And later on, hopefully I can make more time for our students to speak and let you know what their reflection as a partner. And we are applying student and partner the approach. And the second one, this is a PhD student of Lotus, and she's also my teaching assistant in the course. And Wen Ruo is from the Child and the Family Development Program. So let me quickly check. Hello, girls. Are you online? Do you want to quickly say hello to everyone here? We have a full classroom, lovely faculties and teachers and amazing partners. Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Yuchen. I can recognize your voice. Yeah. Would you like to quickly say? Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Yuchen Ru. I'm the year 2 PhD student, and I'm the teaching assistant of Lina, and through her module, I got a lot of knowledge about digital education, and the digital escape room help students can get more knowledge and help them master the knowledge. I think is really useful in higher education.
Thank you, Yuchen. Yeah, because the event we have a tight schedule, so I have to move on to next student. Thank you for your excellent introduction. And Luolan, would you like to quickly?
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Luolan. I'm from Digital Education. I will share in my student voice part, so I will give more time to other students. Thank you.
Thank you, Lan. And Wenruo, are you online?
Yes, I'm online.
Thank you, Wenruo. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Wenruo Xi, and I'm from the major of child development and family education. I'm so glad to meet you, and I'm the research assistant of Lina, and I'm so happy to have more information about this subject with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wenruo. Thank you, girls. Fantastic. So due to time limitation, this is myself. I think you know me, so I will skip for this part, save more time for my colleagues. And I have Dr. Juliana. She's also online. And Juliana, would you like to quickly introduce yourself and say hello? Or if maybe.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
maybe
I realized my mic.
Oh, okay,
Hi.
great, Juliana.
Sorry. So hi, I'm Juliana. I'm Lina's colleague, and my interest is in digital. My interest is in digital game-based learning, especially for upskilling and professional learners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. So we will move on, and if for my colleagues and students online, if you have anything to add, feel free to ask. So I will quickly introduce the project. So as you can see, the background is during the COVID and the post-COVID. We do have international students. They stuck overseas, so they need to do the learning asynchronously. This is actually the original motivation to design the digital escape room. And I got this idea inspired by a colleague shared the presentation in Advanced HE Annual Conference, which is also in 2020. So after attending the conference virtually online, I brought the ideas to our team, and we started to think about which is the easiest way to help us to design something digital and exciting, such as the escape room. Because you may know in China mainland, we have limited access to some of the technologies. I learned from the conference, people use Google Forms to create an escape room, but we have no access to it. So I think, okay, let's use something existing. We use Moodle since 2006. So we are very familiar. All of our faculty members are also very familiar, and the students. So we use Moodle, and H5P actually is an open source. So open source technology integrated with Moodle by default. So that saves us a lot of cost and energy to learn something pretty new. So the original idea is to use this digital escape room to provide both asynchronous learning and synchronous learning for both our international students and the local domestic students. And maybe some of you might wondering, what is H5P? I'm techie, so I'm always bring some of these words to my students, and they ask me, what is H5P? So in full, it's a HTML5 package, and my students, then what does it mean? HTML5 package. So I think, yeah, in short, it's a interactive technology can help us, for example, embed quiz question in a video or create a simulation game by just doing some setup. But as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of settings. That's why we together found an AI tool which can save our life. So for the presentation today, I will not focus on how to use H5P, because then I can spend 1 month here. So I will quickly show you a video created by our student to introduce what we have done. It's 3 minutes, and hopefully we short video created by Team C, as you can see inside the video. In the course, I grouped the students into different teams, and the example of digital escape room they introduced in this video is about citation, because the students, for our master students in the year 1, because they are from different Chinese public university, they are not familiar about the English writing for academic purpose, and they are not familiar with the formatting systems like APA7 or any other format. So this is something students told me, can we design something more exciting rather than read through the guidebook to learn how to cite appropriately? And then the team
created this interactive digital escape room for the whole other classmates to try and learn through it. So this is a part of our approach of student as partners. And earlier, my friend Jim told me, why not think about design this session as a digital escape room? It will be more exciting. I hope next time I can stay longer and come earlier so I can prepare for it. So next, I will quickly introduce the idea that because before I come, we worked closely with CIE, especially Rob and Will. We think maybe it will be helpful to create some guidance, step-by-step guidance for colleagues to read. So this is what we have done. We use the Bloom's taxonomy and H5P activity examples, as you can see from this table, to show our colleagues both in UK and in China, how can you think about design a digital escape room? Because we find the most challenging part is to align the learning outcome with the learning activities. Sometimes because teachers are not game designers, right? So when we are trying efforts to bring something exciting for our students, we also, as a human being, we might get lost when designing something really fun, but not so relevant to the learning outcomes. So this is why we use the Bloom's taxonomy as like a standard for us to always think, okay, what are the learning objectives we want to provide for students in this escape room? So for example, remember as the first level of the Bloom's taxonomy, and then we can always use like a flashcards, crossword to help students to get the memory. And there are different types of activity, H5P activities for different levels of cognitive development for our students. This is also one of the biggest challenges when we introduce the idea to colleagues from other disciplines, because there are too many choices, too many options of H5P, like I think over 50 options. And if we don't have a guideline like this, colleagues are easily get lost. Which activity should I use, right? So this is a quick table for you to take a look, and we have a separate folder shows the detailed resource. Due to time limitation, I will not expand too much, and you are always welcome to see the detailed guidance document developed by the team together. And here I want to quickly highlight the importance of using it either in asynchronous, synchronous, and a mixed way, because for the last academic year, we did this with colleagues from several different disciplines, including education ourselves, and colleagues from computer science, from linguists, and from architecture. And they find that, especially, for example, computer science, they have labs, and architecture also. They find it will be more exciting if we have a mixed hybrid version of the escape room. So students, when they go to a physical real lab session, they have some tasks, some puzzles to solve in the lab. And then they go online. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mention the Learning More system. We call it Learning More. It is actually a Moodle-based virtual learning environment. So students can do some online tasks, mixing some activities with on-site so that they can collaborate with their peers together. So this is what we found, a mixture of the approaches, usually more effective for different disciplines. And I know the time is limited. This is another video. I don't think I can have the time to play all the parts. So the thing is, I want to quickly show you, because in the first semester in my module, it's called Designing Digital Curriculum, because my students, their dream is to be future CAT, to be learning technologist, the instructional designer. So for the first semester, as what you see, the student created digital escape room. In the second semester, I tried flipped classroom, and I tried to use digital escape room before the class, ask the students to do online activity in the escape room, and then come to the lecture to discuss. So when that learning design started, my students, they told me they are a little bit struggled because flipped classroom is a new approach to them. They never experienced similar approach in their undergraduate study. And so I designed a card game integrated with the digital escape room. So this is the main thing. I will just jump to the most important part, and then you don't need to watch the 4 minutes video. So this is a module called the Designing Digital Education Curriculum, which is for the first semester. And in the first semester, we created escape room to support students' learning. And let me jump to the second video, which is about the next. Here, this is a video about the second semester.
Weeks. The module is designed with a sustainable feedback loop by providing rich opportunities for students to have a voice. References were welcome during group discussion assessment. A student named, but Doc is afraid of a horrible course. Students can learn crossword management. The idea of students to improve their learning experience. Okay, considering students' divergence in abilities and backgrounds, the module provides opportunities for students to join a challenging route with advanced learning tasks or stay with normal tasks in the default route. Before making the decision on grouping, students can try digital escape rooms with learning tasks at different difficulty levels in the.
Yeah, sorry to pause. Maybe I quickly explain and then we move on. So this is a game map, and I realized a challenge of having students playing the same level of escape rooms, and they think, some students think, oh, it's too simple, and they lost interest after 2 weeks of the similar level of activity. Some of the students are still struggling at the default level. So that's why I give them 3 weeks time to try different levels. We call it a difficult level and default level, and then make a decision whether for the remaining semester they want to join the challenge group with higher level escape rooms, or the default group with the same level as they experienced before. And in this kind of key stage, and also here you can see a gift box. This is like a board game. So when they approach to, for example, 6 weeks, then for the default level student, they can be given a digital card randomly. And for the challenge student, they can always have more chance to get more gift cards. So what's the use of these gift cards is also very relevant to students' motivation to engage in this activity. So I connected the digital escape room with their summative assessments. And let me quickly show you.
Badges as gift cards for assessment preparation. For example, students can use the expert card to get advice from the multimedia expert about video editing for the final video assessment. Moreover, students can use the device card to get one additional digital device to support their oral presentation. In the module questionnaire, a student commented on the assessment design.
I enjoy the form of privilege and resource card used to support our final assignment, and I really appreciated learning such an approach. The professor taught us to use Moodle to design a course, which aligns with my module expectations, employing digital technology to create course.
Sorry to pause here. We still got content, but I think I want to make more time for our students to share their experience as a helper to creating the escape room. So Roland, are you ready to talk about your parts first? And I will see if I got remaining time to talk other things. If not, then we will move on. Lan,
Yes,
are you?
I'm ready. Yeah, Dr. Lina.
Yes.
Thank
So I
you.
will move on to your page. This page.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, me again. My name's Lan. I'm from Digital Education Programme at XJTLU. I'm really glad to have this opportunity to share my experience of using digital escape room in my study. I think as a learner myself, I know the struggle of staying engaged and motivated in a module throughout the entire semester. But by completing the digital escape room, we can not only review and comprehend the knowledge that being taught during the class, but also we can have the sense of engagement when solving the puzzles during our self-directed learning time, which is called asynchronous learning in the previous slides. And in addition, we design our own escape room as a team and compete with our peers. We tried very hard to make our design meaningful and interesting. I think through this process, we acquire the ability to identify what is a good design and how to solve all the escape room to proceed our study. So these activities, I think, help us develop problem solving and critical thinking skills. And meanwhile, I think this game-based digital escape room make learning fun while doing it. In order to find the password for the following rooms, we need to pay attention to every detail we made when completing those learning activities. Also, we look forward to meeting more types of activity. As you can see, there are many H5P games in the digital escape room, and we have expectations for the following week's escape rooms. So this makes our very motivated in learning. Also, I think since we need to design our own escape room, we feel very engaging to be part of the design of this module. So this is a quite new and exciting experience because it benefits our future development. For future development, digital escape room offer an innovative way to help students like us to apply theory into instructional design. Those theories are no longer conceptual words in our mind. We can use them in our own design. For example, in one of our team designs, we applied the VARC learning styles and ABC curriculum design method. So we use drag and drop and interactive book and also scenario games. We try to help our classmates identify how different software facilitate various needs of students and how to incorporate ABC curriculum design to construct learning activities. So this is also a good example to show how using digital escape room help us cultivate self-directed learning abilities. In addition to above mentioned problem solving and critical thinking skills, we develop our own idea and search quality learning materials to design our rooms. So these are going to benefit our future career. And moreover, I think to make our design creative and attractive, it's a good opportunity to improve our digital literacy skills, such as video editing and graphic design. I think these skills are becoming increasingly important in today's digital age. That is why I believe that incorporating digital escape room in our learning can be such a powerful tool. So that is all I want to share for now. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Lan, for representing the other students to share their experience. And my final slide, I know time is moving. My final slide is to give thanks to the whole team. I prepared this slide. So as I mentioned, this project is both internally and externally. So we have internal members, we have student members and faculty members, and we have external members like my lovely supervisor and the CIE colleagues and the colleagues from other universities in other countries, because it's so exciting to know people are doing the similar thing, although in different approaches and in different disciplines. And it's always something we can share together, especially when we encounter difficulties and challenges, and then we can support each other to move on and continue. So this is something I would like to end this presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I mean, you can see such a sort of wide array of stakeholders and people contributing, and it's great to have the students in the room as well. So thank you to everyone from there. Rather than doing questions now, if it's okay, we'll hand over to Freya, and then perhaps we can have some shared questions at the end if everyone's got time. And if you're hot, I realise it is hot here. I'll shut the fan. So there's a fan here. Come close to the fan if you need. There's water there, and I've got a suntan sitting over there. So I'll hand over to Freya now, if that's okay.
Thanks so much. That looks like it's there. Great. Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Freya.
All right. Hi. I'm going to show you some stuff that we did in the music department. Back in COVID times, there was a crisis of a bunch of new students who were not going to be allowed to meet each other, and yet we had to get them to kind of meet each other somehow. So, you know, normally we would do some sort of induction event. Clearly, we couldn't do it. We had a little bit of a crisis on our hands. My own background personally is that I love playing games. Like, I was raised on board games. That was like how my family worked. We had treasure hunts that my dad always wrote when I was a kid. I've done a whole load of live escape rooms. I play loads of co-op games. I did some digital escape rooms in COVID, sometimes using Google Forms, sometimes using other things. I listened for a while to a podcast called Escape This Podcast, which is tabletop gaming meets escape rooms, in that you just kind of speak what the escape room is. And the people there will sort of ask you, well, what happens if I look under the desk? And you say, well, this is what you find. It's the same principle as an escape room. I enjoy scavenger hunts and so on. So for me, this was, you know, having played a bunch of digital escape rooms in that immediate past and done some scavenger hunts, this was a really good way, obvious direction. The other thing that was going on was that we were rolling out Canvas across the university that year. And it occurred to me that it might actually be quite a good way for students to get to know their virtual learning environment if we actually built this escape room within Canvas. So that's why we did that. Now, I have long been a defender of Cilla Black, despite my political leanings in the opposite direction from hers. I feel like she has been an underrated representative of the Liverpool music scene, and the fact of her being a musician seemed like a really good way to go. I wanted to set up an escape room where we found who had murdered Cilla Black, because canonically she is dead. My director of undergraduate studies said, well, maybe given that we are in the middle of a global pandemic, maybe death might be a little bit insensitive. Why don't we just kidnap her instead? So that's what we did. We virtually kidnapped Cilla Black. Essentially, we asked students, I think, in fact, the first year we ran it, we put them into groups according to who their academic advisor was, right? So they would already have a sort of preset group of people to play with. We set up a time when they would be able to, when we would be in the chat box, my colleague and I, we designed it together, so that if they got stuck on anything, we would be there to help them. But they could actually run it at any point, and you can sign up and do it now if you want to. So it starts like this. Basically, the situation is this. We have a little video from my colleague, Detective Inspector Worth, who heads up pop performance, or he does a lot of the pop composition. He's the admissions tutor, so he's a familiar face to these incoming students. And he lays out the case that Cilla was recording in our studios and signed into the out of hours book and then went missing. There were 6 members of staff who were around the department at that time. One of us must have done it, right? And those 6 members of staff were people that the students were going to meet in their first year, right? They were key members of staff who would either be teaching them or included our head of department. So this might be a nice way for them to get to at least find a familiar face and feel like we were friendly human beings and so on. So they would watch this introduction to the case and then go to the file box. And these are graphics that I made up. And each one of these leads to an evidence file that we've set up on Padlet, okay? And the evidence file would have an interview with the suspect. This is what one of them looks like.
Zilla, I had nothing against her. No, we had a bit of tension over the summer, sure, but it all got resolved in the end. She wasn't happy that we were naming the new building after Yoko Ono, reckoned it should have been her instead. Zilla was threatening her own peaceful protest, singing Alfie on loop for the whole of Welcome Week. I mean, it would have been anyone who had a heart. I would have just let her, but Alfie, no thanks.
You get the idea. So hold on, let me just see if I can get out of here. This is ridiculous. Oh, there we go. And so there would be on these Padlet things, you know, bits of evidence, most of which were red herrings, some of which would mention music venues. So my colleague Kenneth, there was a whole thing about him going to heebie-jeebies and writing a review on the night that he went. There were some photos of a time when it was actually my birthday and we went out to heebie-jeebies and he was dancing in my wife's white patent leather heels, and so on. And you would find something eventually that would lead you to a password. So this was the thing that Catherine, my head of department, who you've just seen, among her research areas that she's interested in music across the Atlantic, and she's written on sea shanties. So I mocked up this playlist, and this was one actually that people consistently got stuck on. And I think I had approached it like somebody who plays a lot of these things and looks for the challenge, and not really seen it from the perspective of people who maybe haven't done one of these at all. The playlist here consists of 6 titles. When in Ely, I Was a Boy, Arise Round the Matlock Mariner, A Bridge North Reel, Come Down at Worksop, Abingdon Effie, and Is This Even a Shanty? And I've made up all of those titles. Does anybody want to hazard a guess as to what is wrong with those titles? When in Ely, I Was a Boy, Arise Round the Matlock Mariner, A Bridge North Reel, Come Down at Worksop, Abingdon Effie, Is This Even a Shanty? If you go on Google Maps and you look up where those places are, you will find that none of them are anywhere near the sea, right? So this gives you the hint that, okay, well, maybe I should be looking at this. What you find is that if you, maybe zoom in on this picture, here we go. When in Ely, somewhere in there, you get the letters that spell 9. Arise Round gets you 0. A Bridge North Reel gets you 3. Come Down at Worksop gets you 2. Abingdon Effie gets you 1. And Is This Even a Shanty gets you 7. So once you have figured that out, which of course you would instantly, you could go into this password checker that Kenneth set up, and you can type in the password to see that you've got it right. So 903217. Well done, the password is correct. So you would now write down this password, whatever it is, and you would go back to the 7th file. And this was the key. This was your eyes only file. And each one of these requires you to enter a password. Let's go into the Tackley one. You know, this is 903217. And this would allow you to access something completely utterly spurious, right? This was the bit I was least happy with, in that it wasn't thematic for the whole thing. But you would get 6 of these things, and they would have, when you laid them all over each other, you would be able to figure out the value of a triangle, the value of a square, the value of a star, and the value of a circle, right? And that would give you then this 4-digit password that you could then use. Once you had got this 4-digit password, you would go to review the case. Richard would give you a sort of summary of the situation, and you would eventually be able then to enter your passcode and discover who it was that kidnapped Cilla Black. I won't tell you what that result is. I've given you a hint to the most difficult one, I've given the answer to the most difficult of the puzzles. If you want to find out who actually kidnapped her in the end, as I say, you're welcome to sign up on the course and find out. It basically went down quite well with the very few people that did it. Most people sort of didn't bother. I think the most fun was had by several of my colleagues who were new starters the next year. But for those people who did do it, and some postgraduates, taught students came along and did it as well, they seemed to very much enjoy the sort of frivolous bonding experience, and it was really just a kind of silly way to get everybody sort of talking to each other, and by osmosis figure out how to navigate their way around Canvas. So that's it, that's what we did. There you go.
Yeah, much fun that would be for the colleagues dressing up in the week that they were doing that. And as you say, really engaging way to get students online on the platform, working with the content. Two slightly different approaches, but equally valuable. So if it's all right with everyone here, we'll take some questions if there is any in the room to Lina or Freya. So does anyone want to sort of kick us off? We've got anything online, David?
Yeah, it's a question online for Freya, if that's okay. Someone's asked, would you be able to expand a little bit on how the password checker was created?
The password checker, you'd have to speak to Kenneth really about that. He has a website of his own, which you can find at chromaticharmony.com, because that's the sort of nerd world that he runs in. And he has areas of that which were password protected. And so he was able to sort of program that really to just function as a checker. But you could equally do it on some other platform, right? There are multiple ways of skinning that cat.
Again, sorry, I guess you could do that through quizzes. You could set up a quiz and enter whatever the answer is, and then it's automatically.
Exactly. Yeah, it was nice for us because we were able to sort of embed the web page into the case file, and it sort of kept it thematic for us. But yeah, there are loads of ways that you could do that.
So what's the primary software that you've used to develop these links?
So all of this is done within Canvas, basically, on pages. Yeah, exactly. Every single one of these is a page. The slight kind of addition to that is that so these images are ones that I just created in PowerPoint, and I saved them as an image and I uploaded them and used them as links. And then each of these pages has embedded in it a Padlet page, basically. So I just went and created 2 accounts so that I could have 3 pages in each one, because you can only have 3 on a free account.
So what would be the advantage in terms of functionality between HP5 as opposed to Microsoft Forms, as opposed to using Pages? Given what you were saying about HP5 has kind of crazy functionality that can kind of be over the top and overkill. Is it therefore better to use software which is kind of less demanding? I don't know.
Yeah, may I join you?
Please do. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd love it if you did.
Yeah, I will first share some of my thoughts and feel free to. For H5P, comparing to the Microsoft Teams or the Google Forms, which is in a Google Form, we can consider it as a content container, so that we can always upload a picture or video or give some text instructions for students to engage within this digital area, which is the virtual escape room. And they need to get the password and unlock to the next tab page. For H5P, there are the crazy list of the activities, things like a branch scenario, which is the activity. We can design role play games. So students can choose whether I want to play as a teacher role or a student role, or for example, in a management area, they can play as an employee or employer. Then inside the game, students can have more immersed learning experience, but it's all up to the instructor to design. This is also the challenge I just mentioned for teachers to have extra efforts to first know each of the H5P activities and what they are good for which. And the tool, I think Rob will introduce maybe later, It's called Knowledge AI, developed by a group of people from Newcastle. It's an AI assisted tool that we can talk to the AI, say, okay, I'm going to teach, for example, curriculum design next week. Please help me to generate H5P activities based on this YouTube video, talking about something like a digital curriculum. And then the system will quickly, in a few seconds, to generate all the interactive activities, including the thing I talked about, interactive book, interactive video, interactive presentations, and simulations. You don't need to really understand the settings for each of the activities. You just need to check the results, whether the whole package is what you want. And then you can slightly change the settings rather than start from scratch. Yeah. So I think this tool is amazing. When I talked to CIE and Rob, we didn't realize that tool yet. So we are also thinking, how can we help our colleagues to better use H5P? Now we got the tool.
Yeah,
and
just to pick up on that, actually. So with all of the software you see today, Canvas, we've got the boot camp running next week, so we can help you with embedding any activities. H5P, we've got the pilot project, Sophie and Amelia from Medicine are working together on that. Will's online, so if anyone online wants help there. The AI use is really just to try and speed up that content creation aspect of it. So we're not asking it to come up with the content per se, we're just actually using it to help using our source content and develop the resources quicker. So that's something we can look at with you.
What about licensing of H5P? Because whenever I've investigated that, I've come against a brick wall saying no, we can't pay for it.
We're in year 2, aren't we, of a 2-year project now. We've expanded to have 60 licenses. So if you'd like to come on board, we'd be very happy to have him. Will's online, he can help with that. And we're working with cross-faculty on that. So that's a new project, really. But yeah, again, that's a sort of pilot. So hopefully we scaled it up from a last year successful pilot to double. We would like to double it again if we can. Medicine using it, I don't know, if you want to say anything, you're quite extensive in your use, aren't you?
Trying to expand it and get more staff involved with it. So, but I'm really enjoying it.
Yes, but we'd like to work with you on that as well. And they're bringing AI into that as a sort of smart import function. So the AI is integrated within these systems already. And what that does, as Lina said, it would take like a source video, which could be any length, and it would just generate, quite a few of these resources now, which you could then embed in something as interactive as this. So I think this sort of area will be expanding as that technology becomes more prevalent.
What I felt from having played purely kind of game versions of escape rooms that were done through Google Forms was that it felt like Google Forms, right? It felt like I was completing a registration page for a conference or something like that. It didn't have any of the kind of the vibe around it. So that's kind of why I went as far as I did in terms of like creating the graphics for that, for instance. And then if you sort of set Google Forms to one side, then you have H5P, which I don't know anything about, or this. And then the difference is, well, do you want to start from a completely blank slate and with no sense of direction or guidance or help, and yet also no restriction? Or do you want something that's got kind of some starting templates, I guess, for activities? And that I think would be probably down to personal preference then.
So if you have a question, Kat, one of the back.
It's for Lina, really. With you mentioned students, obviously they were using the escape rooms and they didn't find them as fun. So how did they find going from being a consumer of them to being a producer of escape rooms?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good question, because the students also, they feel when they are a learner, they always think, okay, this is too simple. Why my teacher is so boring to create this escape room, which is not exciting enough. And then I asked them for the second remaining 6 weeks to ask the students to design their own escape room, and then they can vote each other. At that time, they realized, okay, it is hard. It is really difficult to do the learning design. And from this experience, because as I mentioned, digital education students, their future job hopefully can be learning technologists. And it's always students, they lose motivation to work hard on their learning. And this is something maybe relevant to experiential learning for them, because they, as the learning designer for their own learning, it's an exciting experience, as my student just mentioned before. So another thing I find important is talk about this to the students. Otherwise, they just keep it in their mind, and they didn't realize this is something a teacher designed for them to compare the experience as a learner and a designer. And it also can be applied for other disciplines. As I mentioned, the whole project, we will collaborate with other colleagues. For example, one colleague in architecture, and at the beginning, she thinks, okay, you can ask your students to use H5P because they are the future learning designers. But my students, they are architects. How can I better use the student as partners in this setting? And then, because students nowadays, they are very familiar with digital tools, and they are also exciting to design escape room. So then after we talked, the teacher now organized a leading project with her student majored in architecture to try to design escape room. And to do the similar approach, but for different displays. So I think it's universal. Yeah, so that's from me. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible, or even if there's any point in this, is there some kind of design approach that allows us to see a hierarchy moving towards full a game product, and something that is more sort of I'm using that word vibe, which gives a feeling of playfulness in the way that we're producing materials and displaying. Because what I got from both of you was, yeah, obviously your design outcome was to produce a game, but in doing so, you traveled on a really interesting journey of engaging lots of other academics in obviously like, something that they were really excited about doing, and they dedicate an awful lot of time probably to be involved in this. Is there something about playfulness which comes, which could be used as a quality of learning materials that doesn't necessarily have to end up in the product of a game?
I mean, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who works at a university press, and she was bemoaning the fact that she was concerned that people thought she didn't take her job seriously. And I said, you don't have to be serious in your job to be taking it seriously, right? Taking your job seriously and being serious are different things. So for me, silliness is, or playfulness, to give it a more sensible term, I suppose, it is kind of crucial, right? Because it's got a quality that sort of keeps things alive all of the time, right? And I don't think it's the only quality that we would want, but I do think that it can be a really helpful and an important thing. And so sometimes, I guess, I don't know, for me, I'm just always looking for places to be a bit silly, right? And if that's in, I don't know, if I'm teaching citation, for instance, I might make up a stupid title for a book, right? And of course, people do that all the time. But, it can be something as basic as that. And it's just a case of detaching, taking a product seriously from that product being serious. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just for me anyway, it's a kind of approach that I look for. So yes is the answer to the question, I guess.
May I add some my personal feeling? And also what we will do next semester is collaborate with another university. Their class is game designers. So this course, the students, they develop game design proposals and then pass on to my students, digital education, to evaluate whether it is possible to implement using the technology. And then we have students from computer science to develop the technology, and students from different disciplines, they collaborate as a team, just like the workplace project team, to experience the different perspective of making this product real. And back to your question about whether every student like the idea, no, that's why at the very beginning of the semester, I always ask the students to fill out a questionnaire about learning preferences and learning styles. And in my class, there are two channels. One is if the student prefer to read the documents, read PDFs, they can do it definitely. Another approach is do the games, the escape rooms. And in the end, they need to raise question in the online forum. Whatever approach they used, the main purpose is for them to be more engaged in the classroom time. This is what I mentioned, the flipped classroom. So I got the feedback from last academic year. Students told me the design of giving their option to choose whether play the game or follow the traditional way is very helpful. We do have people learn from different approaches.
And I guess the other thing that sort of strikes me is that the product may not be the game, but the method might be. I guess that's probably the thing, isn't it? Is what gamifying tools can you use, even if the product itself is not a game, right? You go around museums, and I took my kids, they're grown men. We went to see this secret nuclear bunker that's been built in Cheshire in the Cold War, and there are all these like little spy mice around to keep the little ones involved. It's like, okay, how many of the mice can you find? You read Usborne books, and they've all got the little yellow duck hidden somewhere. So why not just have a little running theme that appears each time in the background of a video, right? Maybe your pot plant on the shelf changes in each one, or something, just to kind of have a running joke almost in the class as a way of gamifying the stuff, even if it isn't a game itself.
I think to add on to what Lina just said, so the whole idea is that we have students who are learning in different ways, different means, and if your students are motivated in their learning, you don't need to worry about anything. You give them any materials, they will be learning. However, it's the students that are that we struggle with, those who don't do their readings, those who don't finish their assignment. How can we get them motivated? And using a game, especially, you take it away from like, I have to sit down and stare at these materials for like the rest of my life. But using a game, it makes the learning into bite-sized pieces that they can chew on and make it easier for them to achieve whatever learning goal it is. So it takes a lot more work, honestly, I think, from the instructor point of view, to design a game, because literally you have to take a piece of material and you have to figure out what are the different steps. Of course, now we have AI tools that can help with that. So that's useful. But in that sense, what we are doing now is using a game as a concept. Of course, you can use other means, but how can we break down a course of material into bite-sized pieces that would motivate students to want to attempt to complete the work?
Thank you for that, Juliana. I think that's a really good point. And all the resources from today, Lina, you've got templates and things that we're going to share, haven't you?
Yes.
Freya, if you're happy to share any resources, I'll collate them for you if you like.
I think this is the resource. If people want to have a little look around the Canvas site, then they can just get signed up as a student.
I'll share that around with everyone that's registered online and in the room. But just to say thank you again to Lina and Freya for sticking around.